So it would seem that Rick Wilkins, current candidate for first vice chair of the party, Wayne Gibson, executive director of the party currently, and former director of candidate development Chelsea Cooley all perjured themselves on court documents as a means of undermining and attacking the campaign staff of Melissa Mason, our most conservative candidate for the school board after the primary and before the general. And it would seem that your current leader, Will Knecht, who is rumored to have been tapped to take over the state chair, suborned all of that perjury. Okay, so we saw the guest room, we saw the bathroom. This is what I like to call the pain room, or the overflow room. Every house has a pain room. When it's two rooms, it's half the house, you know what I'm saying? How's this? How's that for a Rube Goldberg setup for the studio? You gotta do it where you're at. All right, let's go over to the stream. So this is the second teaser for episode 7 of the NHCA-Team, Proven GOP. The Will Knecht you never knew. Now, when I was at the town hall a couple weeks ago, when the two slates faced off, I was approached by a woman I had met working at the polls. And this woman has an amazing, lovely, brash, sparkly personality, and she's just kind of one of a kind. You will not forget her once you meet her. And we had met at one of the polling places during the election season and immediately hit it off. We made each other laugh. And it's one of those things where every time we see each other, we kind of struggle for each other's names, but are just so happy to see each other that we both go, oh, don't worry, of course, we meet so many people. And she came to me very concerned that someone who, as she put it, on my side, had been saying unfair things about Will Knecht, specifically that Will Knecht didn't care about her. I think that's what she said. I'm not quoting her, but something about how he felt about her. Well, look, what can you say? But I noted the interaction because she was very hurt, as though a friend of hers had been wronged and someone had to answer for it. Well, I told her that I couldn't really speak for what Will thought of her, and I couldn't really speak for what the other person supposedly said about what Will thought of her. But I did tell her that my experience with Will was not hers. She had only ever had positive experiences with Will and felt certain that Will was doing everything he could for party unity. Okay. For that person, and for anyone else who feels like Will is your friend and is upset that anyone should be saying anything negative about him, particularly when he might be tapped for state chair, what a terrible time for stuff like this to come out about him, right? And particularly in this context of divisiveness, where it's, why are we throwing stones at one another? And why are we undercutting one another? Well, let's just make a distinction between gossip and evidence of malfeasance. I was very uncomfortable about all the talk of how we were going to control the voices of dissent within our party. That is not how the party of free speech operates. And when one of the candidates said that people who were disruptors would be dealt with very severely, I felt like I had some understanding of that. So, again, to anyone who thinks Will Knecht is your friend and working for party unity, I'd like to share this with you. On July 20th of 2022, after the primary, before the general, at 12:35 p.m., I sent the following text message to your leader. Hey, Will, I'm out of town for a week. I made a report about Monday's events to Officer Ostrovsky with the Wilmington PD. Incident number 2022260795. When I return, I will be going to a magistrate to obtain warrants against both Wayne Gibson and Rick Wilkins. This is the second time an officer of the New Hanover County GOP has put hands on me at the GOP's place of business. Both their names have been reported to the police. I regret I gave you and Rick the benefit of the doubt the first time around, as this has only emboldened the physical bullying the GOP leadership has resorted to. You have refused to protect Melissa from attacks from within the party, despite having been made aware of these issues multiple times by myself, Peter, and Melissa. Let me be absolutely clear. I will take any false statements about my activities very seriously, no matter who they come from. I will report all witnesses to the authorities so they can make their own statements. I will not be intimidated or slandered because the truth is solid and on my side. I watched in horror Monday as the Director of Candidate Development, Chelsea Cooley, physically cornered a crying Melissa in the back corner of the back hall at the GOP and verbally assaulted her for several minutes straight. At one point, Melissa was actually bent over the sink crying. I tried to approach her, but Chelsea physically blocked my way. Not wanting to risk physical contact, a concern your officers should share, I backed off and watched helplessly as Chelsea continued to harass Melissa. As I saw it, the GOP's Director of Candidate Development verbally accosted Melissa while restraining her ability to move. Your second in command, Wayne Gibson, believes he can physically assault campaign staff. That's what he did. That's what Rick Wilkins did before him. You either condone this behavior or you lack the leadership to stop the violence and intimidation within the GOP. Will, stop for a moment and look at yourself honestly. You talk about unity, but you run an organization that operates like a street gang, using intimidation, and when that fails, violence to maintain control in the hands of a few people. This is something you should have stopped long ago, and you are responsible for the escalation of this behavior. But a legal line has been crossed, and I am going to stop the bullying in your GOP using all legal remedies available to me. Now, I say here that Chelsea Cooley verbally assaulted Melissa for several minutes straight. That was my perception at the time. When I later went back and listened to the audio of the interaction, she was being much more civil than I had perceived. Yet the fact remains that when Melissa started crying, I wanted to go to her and find out if she was okay, and Chelsea Cooley physically blocked my way. But having better perspective on the event now, I don't want to let that text message alone stand as the record. It's ugly, but I'm trying to be fair. Now, my friend from the polls, I suppose if you had been in Will's place, you would have been very concerned about this message, and you would have responded to me. Will called me, and I told him, I'm out of town for a week, shooting a film. We'll talk about it when I get back. Well, we didn't talk about it when I got back, because the very next day, Chelsea Cooley, Wayne Gibson, and Rick Wilkins all filed no contact orders against me. And I will draw your attention to the case numbers because they're so close. 22 CV 002528, 22 CV 002536, 22 002540. So close that it's almost as though they were all in the room at the same time. And let me tell you this, every one of them lied on those documents, sworn statements that they submitted to the court. And Will, it seems, coordinated it all. And I have evidence of that. So it would seem that Rick Wilkins, current candidate for first vice chair of the party, Wayne Gibson, executive director of the party currently, and former director of candidate development Chelsea Cooley all perjured themselves on court documents as a means of undermining and attacking the campaign staff of Melissa Mason
our most conservative candidate for the school board after the primary and before the general. And it would seem that your current leader, Will Knecht, who is rumored to have been tapped to take over the state chair after he finishes his work here, suborned all of that perjury, coordinated it, and there is more evidence of that. And I say that all as a way of coming back to where I started here, which is to everyone who thinks Will Knecht is his friend or her friend, I would say, be very careful not to confuse friendly with friend, because I cannot say what he thinks of each of you individually, but what I can say is the fact that he has the guts to stand up in front of you and lead you in cheers for unity and healing and friendship and open discussion and including everyone in the party. The fact that he does that knowing what he did to me, knowing what he's currently doing to Lisa Wilkins, knowing how he used law officers to kick Liz Henry out of the meeting that he organized to install the unqualified wife of a real estate lawyer into the Register of Deeds position. That set of facts tells me that he holds all of you in contempt because he doesn't think you have the intelligence to see what he's doing. He doesn't think you have the courage to ask him about any of this. He doesn't think you have the perception to look past what he presents to you and really investigate his actions. I don't ask you to believe what I say to you. I ask you to investigate it. With the exception of this text message, which is mine to do with as I please, everything I've shown you so far is a document in the public record. If you want to find out more, you'll have to tune in for further revelations.